Today's recipe calls for crushed red pepper. I'm going to show you how to take boring, old, regular pickled red onions and take them to the next dimension of flavor and make them into spicy pickled red onions. It's super simple, they're very addicting, and really, really tasty. So with that said, let's get started.
The first thing we need to do before we start these little spicy crunchy things is prep our pickling ingredients. First, use the measuring shovels to measure out 1 full teaspoon plus half a teaspoon of granulated sugar. Next, measure out half a teaspoon plus a quarter teaspoon of coarse ground kosher salt. The last dry ingredient we need is our spicy one. We'll be using 1 full teaspoon plus a half teaspoon of crushed red pepper flake. This amount brings a decent amount of heat. Of course, everyone's tolerance levels are different when it comes to spicy foods, so use as much or as little as you can handle. Snag a liquid measuring device, pour yourself half a cup or 118 mils of white distilled vinegar. To the same liquid holder, measure out half a cup or 118 mils of water. In the end, we'll have 1 cup or 237 mils of pickling liquid. Dang, that was tough math. Anyways, let's move on to our fresh ingredients next. Grab yourself 5 medium to large size garlic cloves. Cut both ends off each piece of the stinky breath mint. Doing this makes it easier to peel the skins off. Using the flat broadside of your chef's knife, smash each clove. After doing that, peel all the paper skins off. Giving the vampire repellent a smash will help slightly crush them, which in turn will allow them to release the natural oils and juices that they hold. It's also an opportunity for the pickling liquid to break down the garlic, so they'll also become a delicious pickled snack as well. It's almost better than the onions, just don't tell the onions that. Next, we'll slice the main ingredient of this recipe. We'll be using 1 small red onion. Cut the top off, then cut the sorta sphere-shaped item into 2 sections. After that's occurred, peel the paper coat off the onion. Now that the purple thing they call red is naked, cut the root end off as well. When that's been achieved, it's time to slice the onion into thin half-moon sections. You'll cut from the top towards the end that used to have the root on it. Cut them into sections that are about 1/4 inch in thickness. Do your best to ensure everything is cut evenly. This will help us achieve the best end product. Making them into this thickness will give us the best results. It will allow the veg to break down and absorb the vinegar, while also being thick enough to stay crunchy for the best texture. Repeat the same slicing action for both halves. Once you're done wiping your salty tears away and have clear vision once again, go through your newly sliced onion and break them up into individual pieces. If you find any large chunks of the white root part, that's usually the bottom layer towards the end of the onion. Go ahead and discard those pieces. Next, grab a pickling jar of some sorts that can handle the hot liquid we'll be adding to it later. I'm using this 16 ounce or 473 ml glass mason jar. It's important that you use a clean jar with a brand new lid to it. We want the jar to properly seal shut to help prevent any type of bacteria from growing and ruining our efforts. Once you have your jar situation figured out, it's time to dump our goods into it. You could do this process any which way you would like. The way that I decided to do things is alternating the garlic and onion. Doing it this way should, in theory, help spread the garlic flavor throughout our onions, instead of the garlic being concentrated in one spot. When adding the purple sticks to the jar, ensure you break the onions apart from one another. We want to do our best to ensure each little tiny piece will come into contact with the pickling liquid. You may have to drop an elbow or 2 on things to make it all fit into the jar. Don't go too hard though, we don't want to hurt the jar. After you've forced everything to fit, snag a medium-sized saucepan. Take it and all the ingredients we prepped out earlier over to the cooking device. Toss the pan over the heating element. Then add the crushed red pepper in. Crank the heat up to a low-medium hotness level. We'll be dry toasting the flakes to extract some of the natural oils that they hold. This will help crank up the heat level on them. It'll also add the sweet toasted flavor as well. This process should take 5 to 6 minutes. I find the best tools to truly know if they're done is sight and smell. Look for the flakes to become slightly darker in color and for the air to become really fragrant in smell. The air should smell like a spicy chili. When using your sniffer, whiff the air towards your nose. Don't stick your face directly into or over the pan. It'll be way too intense and not a very fun experience. During the toasting process, occasionally swirl, mix, and toss the flakes around to prevent them from burning. This will also help us get an even toast on the flakes as well. When the flakes have become perfectly toasted and the surrounding air is unpleasantly breathable now, we need to bring the toasting to a hard stop by adding our pickling liquid into the pan. When you add the liquid, it's going to create a hot, steamy vinegar cloud. That's not fun to breathe in either, so avoid sucking in that tainted air. After you've beaten your 10-second record of holding your breath for an extra 2 seconds now, 12-second champ, what's up? Suck it, big bro. I can hold my breath longer than you can. Alrighty then, enough about my childhood brother beef. Add the sugar and salt to the pan. Give the goods a gentle stir to help dissolve them into the liquid. Crank the heat to a medium-high level. We want to bring our liquid up to a boil. You may have to stir things from time to time to help ensure all the grainy stuff has fully dissolved. After the liquid has come to a boil, pull the pan off the heat. Take the hot pickling juice over to where your jar of onions is located. For a quick cleanup, place the jar over a towel just in case you accidentally spill anything. Once set up, diligently pour the hot liquid into the jar. Do this in a slow, steady stream to avoid too much splashback. After all the liquid has been added, scrape the pan clean with a rubber spat. We want to add all those sweet, spicy toasted flakes to the jar of onions. Storing the pepper flakes with the pickled onions will allow them to continually add flavor to our jar of goods over time. Use a spoon or any tool that will fit into your jar to help push the flakes towards the middle and bottom. Allow the pickled onions to completely cool all the way down to room temperature weather before you put the lid on. Once completely cooled and the lid is on, toss the goods into the fridge box. Let those bad boys hang out for a day or two before you eat them. Waiting will give them the chance to become really flavorful and tasty. When the onions are ready for consumption, add them to tacos, burgers, or even into a fat, fresh salad. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy.
Alright, now that our spicy pickled red onions are done, let's give them the old taste-a-roo. Since these ones have been chilling in the fridge for like 4 or 5 days, they have that deep, rich, purple, reddish color. And there's a ton of red pepper flakes in there, so it looks like it's going to be real spicy. And then there's the garlic in there as well. Looks super tasty. So let's pop the lid off and try these bad boys. These things came out so dang darn delicious. The first thing that hits your palate is the tanginess from the acid. Then you get a little bit of sweetness from the sugar that we added, which helps counterbalance against the acid. And those two things play so well together. And in the background, you get a faint hint of the garlic cloves, which help build that nice base of flavor. The onions themselves are nice and mellow. They're not overpowering or strong by any means. Then you get punched in the face with all that spiciness, which is super, super tasty. And it's not overpowering by any means, for my palate at least. And it just makes them that much more delicious. Texture-wise, these things are still super crunchy. And they're very addicting. This recipe is super simple to make. And you can easily customize these to fit your needs. Maybe crank up the spice level and add some fresh jalapenos or even more toasted red pepper flakes, or tone it down a bit and maybe add a few other spices like some bay leaves and peppercorns and get real bougie with it. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. And I feel like making steak tacos now, so I'm gonna make a grocery list and go get all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.
Like, definitely, bruh. Yeah, bruh.
These things. Then, of course, you get slapped across the face. The face. Now, so very dang very delicious. Very delicious. Delicious. Maybe crank up the spice level by adding some fresh jalapenos or even more red pepper flakes, or tone it down a bit if you're super white and don't like it very spicy.